Amigos, your relationship needs support. And when I think back to the beginning years of my marriage, where my husband and I were having the most amount of arguments and the least amount of sex, we needed help overcoming the number one issue in our relationship. And to do that, we needed to do something radically different than what we were already trying. You see, even dramatically different than what the generations before us were doing. And that support came in the form of marriage therapy. Marriage therapy was the game changer for my relationship. It allowed my partner and I to finally take a step back and have somebody else walk us through what was actually going on. And eventually we realized that most of the issues that we had with each other had actually nothing to do with the other person, but more so to do with our own unhealed trauma and our own things that we hadn't taken the time to process, but somehow was still showing up in our marriage. And that's why I love BetterHelp. You see, BetterHelp is the world's largest therapy service, and it's 100% online. With BetterHelp, you can tap into a network of over 25,000 licensed and experienced therapists who can help you with a large range of issues. To get started, you just have to answer a couple of questions about your needs and preferences in therapy. That way, BetterHelp can match you with the right therapist from their network. Then you can talk to your therapist however way you feel comfortable, whether it's via text, chat, phone, or even a video call. You can even message your therapist at any time and schedule live sessions when it's convenient for you. If your therapist isn't the right fit for any reason, you can totally switch to a new therapist at no additional charge. With BetterHelp, you get the same professionalism and quality you expect from an in-office therapy, but with a therapist that is custom picked just for you. More scheduling flexibility, and at a more affordable price. Get 10% off your first month of BetterHelp by going to my link, betterhelp.com/Karina F. Daves. That's BetterHelp, BETTER, help.com/Karina, F as in Frank, Daves. The link to this coupon is right here in my show notes. Amigos, at this point, you've tried it all in your relationship and nothing is working. You don't have anything to lose by asking for the support you know you need in the form of therapy. And what a better way to do that than with BetterHelp. Coming up on the Relationships You Understand podcast. And what I mean by saying that you're wasting time, it's that instead of leaving this relationship and transitioning out now and being financially independent in 3 years, you're remaining in this relationship for 3 more years, not being financially independent and being unhappy and not being any closer to knowing the skills that you need in order to transition out. Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Karina F. Daves, relationship coach and speaker, where I help women stop arguing with their partners so that they can have more sex. Because who doesn't want to have more sex? One of the biggest things that women struggle with is a lack of satisfaction in their relationship. It's our best kept secret, and I know this because it used to be me. You see, I was a checklist human obsessed with the many achievements we're pressed to accomplish. Getting degrees, getting married, having children, buying a home. And after all it was achieved, I still felt empty inside. And so I looked to my partner to fulfill me. And this is when the arguing started in my marriage. It wasn't until I stopped blaming my marriage and finally decided to take a deeper look into myself, to work on my own need for control, my perfectionism, and to work on my own unhealed trauma, that I realized in order for my marriage to be better, it required a better me. Join me each week where I will be your personal relationship expert, coaching you through unpacking and processing your identity, values, and standards to resolve the number one conflict in your relationship, because a better relationship begins with a better you. Whether you're deep in your marriage or on the road to one, I will help you reflect on who you are, both in your partnership and outside of it. I know so many of us are struggling with this in such a private way, but believe me, a better relationship is possible, but it also starts with you. Are you willing to do the work? Welcome to Relationships You Understand? If you're loving this podcast and enjoying the juicy relationship gems, then head over to follow me on my socials at Karina F. Daves on Instagram and TikTok. Head over to my website, KarinaFDaves.com, and subscribe to my newsletter, Release Your Relationship, where I share weekly relationship advice on how to overcome the number one issue in your relationship. If you're really enjoying this podcast, don't forget to leave me a review on Apple Podcasts or even Spotify. Subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode and share it with all of your amigos. Reviews are such a personal way to hear your voice and interact with our community. Thanks so much for listening. And now, the Relationships You Understand podcast. There are so many things in your life right now that you may be idolizing without knowing that you're idolizing. So that's one. Two, the second update is I just got back from a 10-day trip in Thailand for work, and I also stopped in Japan. If you followed me on Instagram and watched my stories, I had an amazing time to the point where I told my husband we should move to Japan, but that's neither here nor there. It made me realize just how slow other people are in other parts of the world. And by slow, I mean slowly moving, being so present and not so overconsumed by the ways of this world. So thank you so much for coming back for another episode. Let's continue our series. I only got about 10 minutes to record because I have to get ready for work. And it is 5 o'clock in the morning. I've been up since 3:30, but I didn't get out of bed till 4:15. It's severe jet lag. Here we go. All right. Why you stay, part 3, money. Money, money, money. Money is such an intimate thing. Okay. We can either view money as freedom or we can view money as shackles, holding us down, imprisoned to our situation. And many of us are remaining in relationships because of money. We either see that money will set us free or money will keep us tied down to this relationship. We, either believe that money will propel us and help us get to the next stage in our lives, or that money is the worst thing possible because it's why you remain in this relationship, right? The 3 things that I want you to know that you're afraid of when it comes to money in this relationship is, number 1, you're nervous about financial independence. In many marriages and situations, when you're worried about money and why you're staying because of money, you're staying because you're used to the habit of somebody else financially providing for you. Now, that's not a bad thing, but that is your habit. That is your situation. That's sort of what you've been programmed to be in. And so the thought of financial independence is very scary to you. It swarms you into this place of like, I don't even know what life looks like after that, right? That's one reason. The second reason why we stay for money in relationships is because of debt and because of financial circumstances. We feel like together we're better paying off all this debt than paying it separately and possibly having more debt from the relationship, more debt from a potential divorce, whatever it is, right? You fear financial ruin. You fear that separating will bankrupt you, not just physically, but emotionally. And you fear that, right? I want you to realize that money is such a fear in your circumstance, right? Of why you stay. And the third reason why you stay when it comes to money is because of your long-term investments, right? So this is not emotional investments. This is actually money investments, the house, the 401ks, the pensions, the properties, the cars. There are long-term investments that you've made while being in this marriage that you have a very difficult time parting ways with. Okay. And before I get to the part of what you're doing, I want to reinstill something that my money coach, Gina Knox, taught me, which is that money is a tool. Money is a tool that you can use to get you out of any situation, right? And even when you feel the lack of money, you can get money. You know how to get money. You've just convinced yourself that you don't know how to get money, right? And so in these situations, you're telling yourself the negative side of these stories versus looking at your situation saying, I've never been financially dependent. I've been, a partner in which my, let's just say, wife has financially provided for us for the last decade, and I haven't been in the workforce, and I don't have a degree. And this is the situation that we've been in for a very long time. Okay, but there are many skills that you've learned over that decade that could put you back into the workforce. You just imagine that in order to get back into the workforce and actually have a good livelihood, you need to be like the CEO of a company or have a very high paying position. And the fact of the matter is that you will get there. It will just take time. But you're wasting time in this relationship, staying for the mere reason of lack of money and lack of financial independence. You're wasting time making moves towards that dream, towards that solution. You're allowing your circumstance to imprison you rather than allowing your solution to set you free, and understanding that your solution isn't something that's going to happen overnight. Like, that's the reality of this episode that I want to share with you. I fully understand that you leaving this relationship and not being financially independent will take time for you to get your feet back straight. But eventually you will get your feet back straight. And what I mean by saying that you're wasting time, it's that instead of leaving this relationship and transitioning out now and being financially independent in 3 years, you're remaining in this relationship for 3 more years, not being financially independent and being unhappy and not being any closer to knowing the skills that you need in order to transition out. You understand? Same thing goes for your debt. I mean, there are so many different ways to look at debt. Yes. And this is a good segue into both of my parents actually went bankrupt when they got divorced. Both of them. My mom went bankrupt. They got divorced in December of 1997, separated in October of 1997, and they both went bankrupt. They couldn't afford our lifestyles alone. And we moved into my grandmother's basement with my mom, and my dad moved into a basement. And my dad at 35 or 37 years old was delivering pizzas. Yeah, I was literally 10 years old sitting in the passenger seat with my dad on the weekends where, ideally you're supposed to spend time together when your parent picks you up. We were working. My dad was delivering pizzas. But in about 2-3 years, those same weekends we were spending in Puerto Rico because my dad was taking us on vacations. It took that bankruptcy. It took those weekend pizza deliveries in order for us to get the glories that were waiting for us on the other side. And that's what you're not realizing, is that you actually know, to be honest. I think that you actually know that it's going to be hard. It's going to be temporarily difficult. I think it's more so about the fear that you need to process and get through and push through, knowing that there is something that is such a huge blessing for you on the other side. And you may be even thinking, especially with kids, I'm not sure I want to put my kid through this. Well, I mean, you're looking at the best example right now, or you're listening to this best example, which is I now look back at my dad as somebody that did everything that he could for his family. I don't look at my dad in a negative light for delivering pizzas and going bankrupt, especially because now, many years later, that same man that delivered pizzas, 15 years after he delivered pizzas, was able to help his daughter with a gift to purchase her first home with her husband. You see, like, it's the story that you tell yourself, and it matters. Hola, amiga. Here's the thing. You've mastered everything else in your life but your relationship. You and your partner are not as intimate as you used to be. You are both stuck in this awful cycle of arguing that starts with bickering and ends with your routine blow-ups every few months. Every single time that you bring up an issue looking to resolve it, they feel like you're complaining, and then you begin to distance yourself. You feel like you're living with a roommate rather than your life partner. Your relationship, amiga, needs comprehension. Comprehension allows you and your partner to forgive each other quicker. Comprehension allows you and your partner to prioritize each other again. Comprehension is the very thing that will allow you both to give each other the space you need during those blowups. It stops the cycle of arguing. In my private one-on-one coaching program, I help women just like you come up with the exact communication strategies to begin to comprehend their partners and have their partners comprehend them. I will tell you the issues about your relationship that will take your couples therapist 6 months to tell you in just the very first session. It only takes one person in the relationship to do the work for there to be any progress. Either way, you will grow, and that is what is important. Through a mixture of one-on-one coaching, relationship framework, and plenty of aha moments, you'll finally be able to understand your triggers more deeply and decrease the time you spend arguing with your partner. You'll become more of an active listener versus being offended all the time. I want to help you stop arguing on the way to date night and actually have energy for post-date night activities, if you know what I mean. I'm on a mission to show women like you how to talk to their partners in a way that moves the needle for your relationship rather than leaving you stuck in this toxic cycle of arguing. I know many of us are struggling with this in such a private way, but believe me, a better relationship is possible, but it begins with you. So let's work together. I want to help you. Go to the link in the podcast notes to book a sales call where we'll talk about everything that's happened so far, what you've tried, and how I can help. I can't wait to work with you to get you and your partner to stop arguing and have more sex. I can't wait to meet you. And even when it comes to long-term investments, man, girl, whoever's listening, if you know how to invest while you're married, that means that you know how to take a loss and you know how to get right back into the game of investing all over again. You can pick yourself back up. You see, and this is the part where I'm going to preach a little bit to you. You're allowing this financial situation in your marriage, in your relationship. You're allowing money to keep you in this relationship and cripple you in this relationship. You understand? When you become crippled in your situation, it is going to be very difficult for you to find solutions, creative solutions, financial solutions that are going to get you out of this situation. You understand? You are focused on right now. You are focused on the fact that this is your situation, when instead I need you to be focused on what's waiting for you on the other side of a decision that you need to make when it comes to money. Money is actually not that complicated. It's very simple, but sometimes money can be slow. And so it's not that money is complicated. It's that you don't like the pace of money. But in your circumstance, it can be fast and it can be slow. Either way, there is a blessing waiting for you on the other side. You understand? And this is exactly the work that I do with my clients. I'm actually working with somebody right now that one of his reasons for remaining in his marriage, his wife had cheated on him. And one of the reasons that he remained in the marriage was for his kids and for money. And so I had him do an exercise, which was, I need you to go out, look at your money and dream a little bit. Like literally, it doesn't all have to be good dreams, but what would happen if you did leave? The house, he put everything on the table, the house, the car, everything on the table. And I said, and how would you solve for it? And he said, I would solve for it like this, this, and this. In about 10 minutes, he was able to realize just how quickly he could solve for money because money was that simple. And yes, it would probably take some time. And yes, he would probably have a loss here and there, but he saw that he could pick himself back up. And that's what I want for you. And that's the work that I want to do for you in my private one-on-one coaching program. Especially if this episode resonates with you, this series resonates with you, why you stay, and you're trying to figure out if you should stay or not, I want you to work with me. You need to work with me. I'm working with a lot of couples, a lot of clients one-on-one. I have about 2 or 1 spot left for the remaining of the year that literally are in your same position where they're not understanding why they stay, but they know that they need to make a decision. And so when we work together, we come up with the exact strategies it's going to take for you and your partner to become aligned about what you should do. But first, what matters to me the most is what you want to do. What you want to do. Okay? All right, let me pray for you. Father God, I thank you so much for this series. I thank you so much for the love and compassion that you have for us. I thank you, Lord, that you just constantly are committed to us. I've never met anybody as committed to me as you are. And I thank you for that. I know that it's not that you hate money, but you don't like that we become greedy with money. You see money as a tool. You see money as something that we can leverage on this earth. You just never want us to idolize money so much so that we imprison ourselves and become stagnant in things like relationships just because of money. That is still a form of idolization. And I thank you for that revelation. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay, listen. If you enjoy this podcast episode, I want you to make sure you save it, subscribe to it, share with all of your amigos. And if you're not signed up for my email newsletter, make sure that you go to the link in my bio on Instagram or on TikTok at Karina F. Daves. Don't get involved with the comments, by the way. And you subscribe to my series, Release Your Relationship, so I can share with you weekly gems on how to surrender your partner and how to navigate your relationship. Okay? I have so much more to say, but I have to go get ready. Not about money, but about your relationship. If you're listening to this episode and you have a relationship question that's sitting on your heart, I need for you to DM me on Instagram, okay? Or send me an email at team@karinafdaves.com. I want to answer your relationship question. I had somebody yesterday reach out to me and tell me nobody has ever answered my relationship question or fixed my relationship question. And because in my bio, you said you can fix any relationship issue no matter what it is. Literally in 2 1-minute voice memos, I was able to give him solutions and enlighten him about what was happening in his marriage. Actually, they're not married. So in his long-term relationship. All right. I love you so much. And I hope you have an amazing, blessed day. My name is Karina F. Days. I'm a relationship expert, coach, and podcast host of this dope podcast, Relationships You Understand. Thank you. If you're loving this podcast and enjoying the juicy relationship gems, then head over to follow me on my socials at Karina F. Daves on Instagram and TikTok. Head over to my website, Karina F. Daves, and subscribe to my newsletter, Release Your Relationship, where I share weekly relationship advice on how to overcome the #1 relationship issue. If you're really enjoying this podcast, don't forget to leave me a review on Apple Podcasts, subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode, and share it with all of your amigos. Reviews are such a personal way to hear your voice and interact with our community. Thanks so much for listening to the show and can't wait to have you back again. I love you so much.